All right, so there's a huge battle raging right now in Washington, and it's all about the future of your money. On one side, you've got the traditional banking industry, the old guard, and on the other, well, that's the crypto world. And stuck right in the middle of this whole thing is a single piece of legislation that could literally change everything about American finance. So let's get into it. And just to give you a sense of how high the stakes are, you just have to look at this quote. This really frames the whole thing. See, this isn't just some industry squabble. For a lot of powerful people in Washington, this is a full-blown geopolitical race. The big fear is that if the US drags its feet on digital money, another country is going to swoop in and write the rules for the future. So where does our story really begin? Well, it kicked off in a big way with a pretty important meeting at the White House. You had top crypto executives sitting down with key lawmakers, and their goal was to figure out how to break the logjam on a bill they're calling the Clarity Act. This is the bill that's supposed to finally create some clear rules of the road for crypto. But why is the White House getting so involved? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, it turns out this is about way more than just Bitcoin. The real issue here is American competitiveness on the world stage. There's a genuine concern that if the US doesn't get its act together, it's going to lose major ground to China and its digital currency. And when we say lose ground, we're talking about something huge. The US dollar, being the world's main currency, gives America a ton of economic power. One crypto executive put it bluntly, saying that if a Chinese digital currency ever took its place, it would be a flat-out disaster. So this isn't just about innovation. It's about protecting a cornerstone of American economic security. Okay, so let's talk about a key player in all of this, the stablecoin. It's a type of crypto, but it's designed to not be volatile. Its value is tied or pegged to a real-world asset, usually the US dollar. Now, the argument from the crypto industry is that these things actually make the US dollar stronger by creating more demand for it all around the world. And that brings us right to the heart of the fight. It's the old guard versus the new challengers. And what are they fighting over? Well, it all boils down to one simple thing, where you and everyone else decide to keep your money. This right here, this is the question that's causing a lot of sleepless nights in the banking world. It's their number one fear. They're worried that if crypto companies can start offering better returns on these stablecoins, people will start pulling their money out of traditional bank accounts by the billions. And if that happens, could it shake the whole system? So you have two totally different stories being told here. The banks are raising the alarm, talking about a potential massive flight of capital. That could be a real threat. But the crypto side? They're firing back, saying, hold on a second. They claim this is just the big banks using their lobbyists to protect their monopoly and crush any new competition. And they say, point blank, there is zero evidence to support the bank's scary predictions. To really drive their point home, the crypto advocates point to this unbelievable number, $3 trillion. They argue that the big banks they're fighting have all this money just sitting at the Federal Reserve, not being loaned out, not helping the economy. They're basically saying, you're trying to block us while you're hoarding capital. Okay, so this brings us to the next big argument, and it's all about fairness, right? A level playing field. The banks are saying, hey, if these crypto platforms want to act like banks, they should have to follow the same rules as banks. But is it really that simple? Let's peel back the onion a bit. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. See, banks work on what's called a fractional reserve system. They take your deposit, keep a small piece of it, and loan the rest out. That's why we have FDIC insurance, just in case. But the proposed model for stablecoins is totally different. They'd have to back every single digital dollar with a real dollar's worth of super safe assets, like government bonds. And crucially, they would not be allowed to lend that money out. The crypto industry's whole argument is that this model is fundamentally different, and they claim much more secure because the money is always there. So they say, why would you apply the exact same rules to two different systems? But to really get why the banks are so nervous, you have to look at the bigger picture, the end game for companies like Coinbase. They're not just building a place to buy and sell crypto. Oh no, their vision is way, way bigger than that. I mean, just look at this list. This isn't just about trading crypto anymore, not even close. They're jumping into stocks to compete with Schwab. They're building prediction markets so you can bet on, just about anything. They're even creating an AI financial advisor. Throw in a bunch of services for businesses and a huge global push, and what you have is a blueprint for a one-stop shop for all things money. And what does all of this add up to? Well, it's this. Their ultimate goal is to become the primary financial account for millions of people. They want to go head-to-head with the giants. We're talking JP Morgan, Bank of America, and win by being the most trusted, most innovative place to manage your finances.
So, with that massive ambition in mind, let's circle back to Washington, D.C. All of this competition, all of this conflict, it all comes down to who gets to write the rules. And that brings us back to the legislative fight over the Clarity Act.
Now, it's not like they're starting from a blank slate here. There's already a law on the books, believe it or not, called the Genius Act that actually allows for stablecoin rewards, which is one of the main things the banks are worried about. The new Clarity Act is supposed to be a much bigger, more complete rulebook, but it's currently stalled out thanks to all the lobbying. But that recent White House meeting, it suggests the administration is trying to kickstart this thing again and find a way forward.
So, what would this bill actually do if it passed? Well, it boils down to three main things. First, it would finally create federal rules for crypto trading markets. Second, it would end the messy turf war between the two big regulators, the SEC and the CFTC, by telling them who's in charge of what. And third, and maybe most importantly, it would give everyone clear rules to follow, instead of the regulation by enforcement approach that's been so confusing for years.
At the end of the day, this whole crazy fight in DC comes down to one really important question for all of us. I mean, more and more of our financial lives are happening online, right? So the real debate is, who do we trust to write the rules for the money of tomorrow? Is it the established banks who focus on stability? Or is it the new guys, the innovators who are pushing for more competition? The answer to that is going to define how we use money for a long, long time.